2001. The year can barely be mentioned without the infamous date 9/11. The day's tragic terrorist attacks in New York are seared in our collective memory. And while life moves on and the city rebuilds, it was a day that neither fashion nor the world will soon forget.
I think at first nobody knew what they wanted to do. I mean, after the shock of that week shutting down, it was pretty apparent that nobody wanted to see a fashion show.
I really don't think there was any other decision. I think the mood of the people at that moment was just not conducive to anything but just immediate mourning, immediate shock.
I live right near there, and I left my apartment to come here for fittings, and by the time I got here, it had all happened, and I just dropped everything and raced out of here to go grab my baby, who was down there with my nanny, and we just left town.
We were showing the collection that day at 12 noon, and everybody was already at the tents, or the clothes were there, the models were getting their makeup.
We had to make certain decisions about people who had already arrived at work and what to do to close, how to get people home.
I was woken up that morning and somebody said to me, the world will never be the same.
The year in fashion for 2001 was distinguished by an artful creativity with an emphasis on unique presentations. A.F. van der Vorst reinterpreted the bare essentials. Look inside the Calvin Klein empire, from his sharp, clean silhouettes to his influential ads. Nicolas Ghesquière explored black in a seminal collection for Balenciaga.
We start the show with a very skinny silhouette to show all the different texture, the fringe, the velvet.
And the Metropolitan Museum celebrated the understated elegance of Jackie Kennedy.
Designers from the world's fashion capitals always seem to rewrite fashion history, breaking new ground while reinterpreting old favorites. And this spring was no exception, as fashion leaders seem to sign a stylish retro accord. Designers' directive, military looks, marching it through New York and on to Paris, creatively borrowing from the barracks.
Well, there's definitely a lot of camouflage. Bits and pieces of camouflage.
The other strong thing I think that's coming through is the camouflage, military, anything that's got a kind of reference to the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Army surplus.
Well, I guess one of the trends that we've seen that we liked a lot was this military look.
And then there's an undercurrent, I think, of military. In many, especially like Miguel Adrover, who was in the Spanish Army.
Miguel Adrover's tribute to American wartime culture made a hit in New York. At Christian Dior in Paris, the trend got a very sexy salute. A feminine twist on menswear classics like suits and ties had the fashion flock reliving the he-she fashion dichotomy.
Yes, I think there is a very strong move towards masculinity, but hard-soft mixing, and two sides of the coin, really.
But I think the most important thing really is this kind of butch chic, where you're getting almost a kind of androgyny, but done in a very, very sexy way.
The opulent 80s are also back, with broad shoulders and a nod to the material girl in all of us.
Well, I think there has been a lot of 80s referencing, and a lot of that kind of almost Alaya-like, black, body-fitted, body-conscious. We saw it at home at Lang.
German-born Markus Lupfer has made a splash on the London fashion scene with his own unique graphic style.
When I left Germany, it was still when I studied, and the education was very technically very good. And then I thought I missed something in design, and they couldn't give me what I wanted. So I had to move on. So I thought I need to come to London. So I went here to see colleges and had a look around, and then I decided to stay here.
After a stint with Clements and Ribeiro, Lupfer now weaves his own looks.
I love the woven, the idea from the stripe into the woven dogs too. So I've done something else in woven leather, which is done in a factory in Italy. I love colors, I always did. And just to make the neutral colors very interesting, you put really other strong colors where I felt it's new and fresh. It's always going to happen with my collection to have colors in there. And doing something quite high-tech. Everything is done on the computer, is changed on the computers.
Backstage at the show, dramatic eyes and hair prevailed.
The collection is both masculine and feminine. That was sort of the brief when we did the trial. And it's got a sort of rockabilly hint to it, or the clothes do. And so I wanted to create something that was basically quite sculptured looking, but it's still sexy.
Marcus said to me the look he was trying to create, she was a cool woman. She's a very cool woman. She's got a bit of masculinity in a cool sense, so that she's still sexy. She's not androgynous. Those makeups would have normally been done with a black liquid liner, but so because it's spring summer, we transformed it into white.
For me, one thing was very important to keep still the elegance, but make it much harder, much stronger, much sexier, much more powerful. There is loads of prints again, silks, cottons, there's sequins, there's loads of, not loads, but there's beads going on. So like all over beaded skirts, and then also what we have is like loads of black. We have loads of black. If they're color, it's always combined with black. Doing computer prints, yeah, it's still there's the graphic elements, like the wheel is like squares, and there is like the more photographic print, which is this time it's like birds flying off from water. I just like the idea of presenting my feeling, presenting how I feel is the time is right. That's what I'm excited about.
Decades ago, models trekked traditional runways. Today, venues for fashion shows have become almost as important as the clothes themselves. And this season, creative catwalks reigned. Parisians are known for having the world's longest runways. Chanel's lengthy staging with steps proved a navigational challenge for some. At Jeremy Scott, it was bathing beauties against a backdrop of glamorous fountains.
Well, I wanted that old school beauty pageant feeling between like a shopping mall and like a beauty pageant with the fountains and the announcement and the girls and the size.
Party girls whooped it up at Maya in New York.
I grew up with tailgate parties, and I always loved the idea of tailgate parties. It's actually really a lot of fun, especially when there's nothing going on in a smaller town. And it was really fun, and I always thought that idea had a great potential for a fantasy scenario. So that's what this is.
At John Bartlett, models were whitewashed to form a kabuki-like backdrop.
I've seen a lot of sort of Japanese theater, and a lot of it has like bald guys painted white.
A somber setting for the Heavenly Collection at Imitation of Christ.
I think that's what we wanted to do by having our show set in the funeral home. I think that that's ultimately what everyone is afraid of, is that they're going to end up there. So I think if we could just have people realize that everyone is.
An avant-garde presentation at Jurgi Persoon's, reminiscent of a futuristic fashion fantasy.
Presentation on Sunday, well, it was in a park in Paris, and we have put 16 big eggs in plexiglass. It's like a big monster walked through the park and left 16 eggs.
At Dolce & Gabbana, a lush setting with an 80s feel proved to be the Material Girl's ultimate tropical fantasy. Alexander McQueen pushed the envelope again when he staged his show from London inside a mock sanitarium. The Belgian husband and wife team of A.F. van der Vorst began their fashion story studying at the Royal Academy in Antwerp, and the rest is fashion history.
Got to know each other at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp. After having been in the same class for 4 years, I went to the army and went for training to Martin Margiela. We just tried to save some money to start our own collection. At the beginning, when we were together, we were like quite the opposite, and we grew to one spirit.
In Paris, their latest collection was appropriately staged at a handball court, juxtaposing a mix of hard and soft.
From the beginning, we really wanted to do lingerie, because for us it's very important, like what the women wear underneath their clothes. So in that way, we just wanted to do a lingerie part.
The main theme was stockings, like the old stockings.
As in colors, in coupe, and in fabrics, we try to make like a lot of lingerie into nylon stocking fabrics. The story it has the nylon stocking is like, for women during war, it was like really for them a very luxury item. The riveting, which is now already an A.F. van der Vorst detail. Pleated skirt with leather belts, which are attached around the leg. It's an elastic here. When you walk, it's like the pleats are stuck to your legs.
So this is like a vest which was inspired by the orthopedic corsets for the back. It's just in a heavier leather, but which feels soft.
Number signifies, comes in fact from, I don't know if you know the movie They Shoot Horses, Don't They? It's about the story of a dance contest. For us it's quite a very emotional and very beautiful movie.
A.F. van der Vorst has adopted the universal symbol of the cross as its trademark.
It's such a simple sign, but the whole world knows what it means, and that makes it very attractive.
I think that's a nice part of making a collection together, like showing what you like and what's for you is in an aesthetic way making clothes. Doing something together which gives a beautiful result for us.
This season, the beauty buzz was about the bob. Top models like Kirsty Hume and Carmen Cass, who've always had long hair, were cutting their lustrous locks into shoulder and cheek-grazing new do's.
I think this is a season where you can start cutting your hair and feeling good about it. I'm the one that cropped off Carmen's hair. Every time you do something that's shorter, it always becomes modern again. It's just free, you know, you're free, you're fresh, and it's modern.
I think if you've got short hair, grow it into a bob. That is the new theme, and it's very slick and very simple.
always had long hair, always the same hairstyle, always dark hair and always long, and I just thought, okay, it's been 3.5 years now, I need a change, and I love it. It's so much easier, and it's I'm just so different.
I know American Vogue's been very supportive of it and very interested in it, but I personally, I just love individuality. Do what you want to do.
Au naturel romantic tresses were another option, devoid of product and altogether carefree.
We've seen a lot of soft curls influenced from Sarah Jessica Parker and Sex in the City. The other girls, like Giselle, for example, has got that mane of gorgeous light blonde hair. And, you know, it's going to take a hell of a lot to convince them to cut their hair when it looks as gorgeous as that.
Makeup's bold gesture moved to the eyes with expressive and concentrated color.
It's about colour, like lots of it, because it's just impact, you know, the idea of just using colour for fun.
What we're doing is a very 50s eyeline, and we're doing it in fluorescent colors. The rest of the face is very clean. I just want it to look very natural, except for that bright splash of color on the eyes.
We have seen sort of a simple eye with a very strong, maybe red lip.
Lip color, if there was any, meant the lure of ruby red.
Basically, it's about red lips.
Beauty's memorandum of the moment, nothing short of memory-making hair and makeup. The most recognizable face of American fashion, designer Calvin Klein branded an image that has catapulted him to the forefront of global fashion.
There's just such a comfort in the things that he makes, and his clothes are always really simple and modern and beautiful.
Calvin Klein's billion-dollar business has been built on his unwavering doctrine of pared-down elegance and an uncluttered vision of modern chic.
The kick is in doing it. The real fun is in the process of doing it, not in becoming. I mean, it's nice to be successful, but I mean, it's the fun is really in the process of doing all of the work. That's what I love. I mean, that people think of me as being successful. I'm successful because I enjoy what I do. That's really it.
Born in the Bronx, Calvin attended the prestigious Fashion Institute of Technology, and in 1968 started his apparel company with childhood friend Barry Schwartz.
I started doing what I considered fine, very refined sportswear and tailored clothes, you know, way back in the 70s, in the late 70s. And these are the kinds of clothes that are really my roots. They're very sensual, they're very American, they're easy.
Calvin has great power. Calvin is very perceptive. Always seems to know what, I used to say what America really wants. Now it's really what the world wants. He just has that great ability to create clothes that people want to wear.
Calvin's refined looks combine the ease of modern dressing with a distinctly American style. Grounded with a minimal message, Klein delivers it a little differently each season.
It's always about refinement, and it's always minimal and the opposite of decoration. I mean, I don't like lots of things. For me, it's more about cut and proportion and innovative fabrics. So much is in the fabric. I have a point of view, and it's about taking away rather than adding on, and stripping down and making it simple. That's what designers are supposed to do.
In addition to this year's award, Calvin won several Designer of the Year awards, which have translated into a mass appeal and a host of licenses.
And of course, it goes beyond clothes. He's demonstrated the same thing in accessories and in fragrance and in all the areas that we've gone into.
His ad campaigns are key in selling his name, but they do more than just sell the clothes.
Does sex sell? Absolutely, it sells. I still like sex.
I think it kind of began with jeans and Brooke Shields and billboards all over America, but his clothes are on everybody, and he's a very clever marketer as well as a great designer.
If the product has something to do with underwear, if the product has something to do with the body, which it almost always does, and if there's a sensuality about it, well then, you kind of portray that.
Tapping into the youth market meant marketing a product at an affordable price. In that spirit, the CK collection was born.
It has the essence of what Calvin Klein is all about. It has the style, it has the spirit, and it even can be younger because the clothes are not so expensive, so we can almost have more fun with them. And now those clothes are not only for people in their 20s, but they're really for women of any age. People are looking for value.
Whether it's a funky jeanswear line or pure pared-down elegance, Calvin Klein has secured his position as one of America's premier designers.
The whole point of what I do is to make people look good.
After a whirlwind tour through New York, London, Milan, and Paris, retailers and editors, fueled on espressos, head back home. And they essentially decide what the rest of us will be wearing for the coming season. So which designers succeeded, and what's in store for us this fall?
It's all about individuality, and I think designers are giving us so much choice. It's virtually impossible not to find something that suits you.
A lot of black clothes for day as well as for night.
Tom Ford said the world's nervous economies are responsible for a new sobriety, hence all the black. And this season, no designer overlooked black. From sleekly cut day suits to ethereal dresses to opulent evening wear to biker babes.
Color to me is a luxury, and when it starts to become too abundant, it's like having too much rich food. So I just thought I needed to have a palette cleanser, so we started out with mostly black.
We were thinking it was interesting to show all the different texture, the fringe, the velvet, the silk, in the same color.
Dolce & Gabbana added rhinestones for allure. Miuccia Prada and Donna Karan experimented in fur. And John Galliano deconstructed. The overall message, black is back, and anything goes. Lewis and Clark and the great expeditions who went west would have felt at home sitting front row at the fall shows.
Maybe this woman dreamed a little bit the country life, the simple life, because maybe this life is the best life of the world.
Designers across the board look to life in the great outdoors for inspiration. Prairie skirts and denim looked chic. Fur vests and shearling coats proved perfect for the cooler weather to come. Cowboy fringe and coon tails added accent. Even Roberto Cavalli went rural with American eagle prints and a liberal use of feathers.
thinking, why all of a sudden so many people doing horses? Maybe it's because Jacqueline Kennedy, that retrospective is coming up, and she was a great equestrian.
The equestrian attitude was primarily based in New York. Ralph Lauren and Michael Kors applied an American wearability to the look, jod pursuiting and smart accessories.
Ralph did a wonderful collection for the well-bred woman who rides.
I love the way he takes things like equestrian and doesn't do it quite so literally. He adds his twist.
Michael Kors is beautiful. I love the kind of equestrian chic take.
It was so simple and elegant. It was what you all want to wear next season.
The revealing lure of the leg reigns, and this time around, it's the dress that counts. Imitation of Christ and Dolce & Gabbana executed theirs in lace. Karl Lagerfeld went futuristic at Fendi. And Chanel opted for knits.
It's a girl who she's looking for new things. This new generation is looking to break rules.
There's nothing more powerful than a woman feeling beautiful. When you look like that, the world is yours.
The dark romanticism of the 19th century and far world travels inspired the Balenciaga team's autumn-winter collection, under strong direction from Nicolas Ghesquière.
It was unusual for Balenciaga, I want to say, because it was really about the evolution of the silhouette, and we start the show with a very skinny silhouette, usual for Balenciaga, and we wanted to show a woman with more shaped. So we were inspired by some silhouette of the 19th century, beginning of the 19th century, and especially by the way of the science fiction, by the Jules Verne vision. So this silhouette was very different. It was much more structured.
Shaping the woman of tomorrow, using old world fabrics and 21st century techniques, Nicolas is setting the trends for next winter.
Yeah, what we call the pilot, like some jumpsuit that you can find on some Jules Verne story or some science fiction movie. There's three types of trousers. Two are very skinny. One is the combat trouser with all the pocket and the details. The other one is what we call the ski trouser in a stretch fabric, which is a bit unusual for us too at Balenciaga. And the third is a more like loose and short trouser. Three types of trousers.
The somber color palette was narrowed down to a few shades.
Black and gray. But it was really about the accumulation too. So we were thinking it was interesting to show all the different texture, the fringe, the velvet, the silk in the same color. What we call the jupe basculée, I don't know how to say in English, but on the front it goes completely in direction, and it's very light and very stretched on the back.
Given the recent acquisition of Balenciaga by the Gucci conglomerate, the head designer here is optimistic.
Yeah, the future is very bright. The response at Balenciaga is so great, and it's so encouraging that I have a lot of projects.
One year ago, a brigade of curvy Brazilians ruled the runway, but fall 2001 brought a new crop of models. Far more boyish than the
Brazilians, the Belgian models are the new it girls.
I
think what happens is sort of one girl comes over and is successful, and it encourages a lot of her friends and neighbors, the prettiest girl in the high school, to come along.
Last season, the Belgian force began with Hannelore. Right on the heels of her success, meet the three newest Belgian imports, Anne Oost, Anouk, and Delphine.
Well, I started when I was 16, and first I did like commercial work, and it was very hard in the beginning. 5 months ago it started like, it was like really great. It started like, wow, you know, it's going like really fast.
Delphine's distinct look has caught the attention of designers and editors.
Yeah, I look maybe a little bit like a guy. They always say that to me, and it's like, yeah, I know I'm not like really pretty, but I have something. It's maybe inside me. I don't know. I still live in Belgium, you know, and I want to stay there. I live with my boyfriend over there, so I have my life over there, my life, you know, and that's my work. And I try to separate these things. I just want to be rich. That's true. Because then I can do what I really want to do, like maybe acting or something. That's, you know.
It started like 2 years ago, though. A friend of mine was studying fashion in Belgium, and he had a show to graduate.
It wasn't long after for the now 20-year-old to walk the international runways, despite her admitted indifference.
I'm not very ambitious, so it's just... I don't know, I don't expect anything. We'll see.
I'm 21 years old, and I started actually 1 year ago. It's really, really a busy job. You know, you work really, really hard.
Jalouse magazine chose Anouk as the face to launch their American premiere issue.
I like photo shoots more because, you know, you get more contact with the people. But they mostly want you to be really yourself, because if you start acting, sometimes it's become kind of fake.
All three Belgian girls share more than a homeland. This contingent also get booked for the same shows.
Now the Belgian models are really in, you know. We're doing a lot of shows together. We are like all friends. That's cool.
The historic windy port of Het Eilande, or Little Island, is where you'll find Antwerp's own Dries van Noten.
But the area, it's very, very nice because you have always a little bit of holiday feeling. When you look outside, it's completely something else, and also I think it's also very good contrast with fashion, because when you sail, you are really dependent of the wind, and you cannot control it yourself. You're really depending on where the wind is coming from. And in fashion, you try always to control everything and to organize yourself. So I think it's something good to be in balance.
It's an old building which was made in 1900, and it's the first building completely made in concrete.
This is where one of the Belgian romantics creates his men's and women's collections.
For me, fashion was always there. So my grandfather, my father and my mother were always working with garments and fabrics. So for me, it's difficult to say how it influenced me, because I don't know anything else.
Yeah, this is the pattern department. So here they try to make my designs into reality, to try and find the good shapes and the good fit and things like that. So it's a very important job.
Belgian fashion most of the times is also a little bit inspired on art. So we consider fashion really as a passion. We just start from what we want to create, and afterwards we make those garments for women and men that they can wear them in the world. So it's really coming from our heart, and also that makes it a little bit more artistic, I think. And I think being a designer, it's always a struggle and it's always a surprise.
For more than 10 years, the store in the heart of Antwerp's fashion district manifests Van Noten's design philosophy.
I've always been very interested in fabrics, colors, prints, and embroideries and things like that. So really the tradition and the skills in the fashion world. But menswear is always like you need a very good balance between like really the black and the navy and all the really masculine classic colors. But then of course we put in like pinks and yellows and all like the strange green colors. Honestly, which inspires me for the most are colors. It can be work of Anish Kapoor, it can be a flower, it can be a lot of different things, but it's just really color which can stimulate me a lot and which has really like also emotional power for me. My hopes for the future is just that I still continue to like my job, and that's the most important thing I think for me. Because I like a lot what I'm doing, and I think you see it also in the work which I'm doing. And I think the moment that it's becoming just like a system, or when my heart is not anymore in my job, then you're gonna feel it immediately, because everything what I have to do, what I do, is really straight out of my heart.
In a sea of black showings, the always colorful Marni collection lightened the runways of Milan with romantic accents and color. Designer Consuelo Castiglioni took a light hand to feminine favorites, continuing to evolve the nomadic theme that has defined the House of Marni since its inception.
Yes, these are very feminine and very romantic pieces. Maybe that remind something in the past, but very sweet.
Textural fabrics, furs, and prints made for a magical melange.
I've used cashmere and cotton, rough linen, and lots of cashmere for the sweaters, sheepskin and rabbit and goat, with the border in raccoon, opossum. Lots of embroideries, and then the silk combined with the wool.
Accessories added a modern edge to flowing A-line skirts with contrasting leather sashes, belts, and circular leather totes. Models also had to navigate the runway with Japanese-inspired wooden shoes.
It was really feminine and pretty, and then some very classic types of material cut in a way that was kind of innovative and interesting.
Evening wear was ethereal with antique accents, including beaded inlays and sheer layering.
The inspiration was about flexibility, because the short jacket, the big inside waist belt, and then the low-waisted thing. Because you have that on a dress, because it's not a corset, just a belt. You could move. Like this, they have a small waist that they can move. And the shoulders are a little bigger, because I found a Chanel suit from 57 with bigger shoulders.
I love Chanel. I think one of the reasons I love it, because each time I go there, I think, surprise me, Carl. And he always does. And there's always something more that he seems to be able to pull out of the hat, like a magician. And this time, not only did we have the whole snow business, no business like snow business, but we also had the most fantastic Chanel suit. And I found out from Carl backstage, he'd been rummaging through the archives, and from the mid-1950s he found the Chanel suit actually with shoulder pads, which was quite revolutionary for that time. So what he did was he used that pattern as an inspiration, made the jacket really short, then added this little cute, sometimes like a rah-rah skirt, sometimes ruffled, sometimes an A-line. And then he put in between the jacket and the skirt what he called the invisible belt. And basically it was a thing almost like a corset that separated the jacket from the skirt but gave you the most incredible waist.
I think it's a great season for Chanel, first of all, because there's so many other homage to Chanel happening on other runways. So it's nice to see Carl do classic Chanel, but with all of his witty sort of twists. And I love the sort of young, but still very chic Parisian feeling of it. I love the mix of like the suede done in sort of the suede flounces with the patent boots and the beautiful satin, the kind of multimedia, mixed medium feeling of it. I thought was great.
One must-have accessory was the boot.
There was the most fantastic patent leather boots. They came up to the knee with a wonderful cuff, a bit like a kind of cavalier's boot. And I love the way they were put with everything from kind of the more sporty looks to evening wear, because I think it's definitely a trend.
The thing with this patent leather is that it is made like the one used for men's evening shoes before World War #1, but it's soft, soft, soft. And to treat it, you have to put butter on it, if not it breaks.
There's always something new and inventive at his shows. You know, the neck, the fur neck, or the muffler, but every season there's something else that kind of makes you smile.
For the finale, Carl offered Chanel's most irresistible ski wear.
It was very funny and clever of him to do. The whole snowboarding thing obviously is still a very big trend.
We showed a few pieces last year and it was such a success, and that is what bought by men as well as by women, because there is no sex difference in ski wear, because on the slopes they all look the same. We have 2 arms and 2 legs and there is no buttoning on like a girl or buttoning like a man. It's just a zip, so there is no difference, so they can have it all. And after all, Chanel makes the men watch, so why not? Watch the man.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
As 35th president, John F. Kennedy gave this nation one of the most influential first ladies this country ever had. From the moment she set foot on the campaign trail, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy captivated not only America, but the world with her alluring beauty and understated style. The Metropolitan Museum of Art recently paid homage to Jackie with an exhibition celebrating the enduring impact of her White House years.
It's exciting that we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Jacqueline Kennedy's emergence as First Lady.
For me and for those who knew my mother, she will always be a part of us and of our lives. And she will always grace the history she helped to make.
She's such an icon, and she had such a global influence in fashion in the world. I mean, so many women copy her, and still going on.
Visually, I think that probably there's no First Lady who has so strongly influenced a period of the White House as Mrs. Kennedy did. She was a very modern woman, a very young woman, wearing wonderful, simple clothes.
What's fascinating about the clothes is that they really tell the story, and one sees how very keenly Mrs. Kennedy at this period thought about the power of fashion and style and the messages that one could convey through clothing. The coat behind me, for instance, Jackie called her good luck coat because she wore it the day that Jack announced his candidacy for president. Here we have a prototypical pillbox hat. She actually hated hats. She compromised and worked with sales lady Marita O'Connor at Bergdorf Goodman, where the custom hat designer was Halston. On her travels, she liked broad brim hats. She would step off a plane and you'd be able to see America's First Lady.
She knew the power of clothing, she knew the power of presentation, she had a real grace and a character, the way she walked, the way she moved, and that's as much about her style as her clothes.
She was the ultimate of what class is, and yet she was approachable at the same time.
Jackie was a sort of unexpected hit with the Canadians, and this is a red suit by Pierre Cardin. The dress matched the Mounties' uniforms. The Canadians all felt that it was an extremely considered diplomatic gesture that she'd, match the suit to the outfit. Jacqueline Kennedy continued with the president to Vienna, where he had a day of very unproductive summit meetings with Khrushchev, the sort of feisty Soviet premier, who appeared to melt a little, where he met Jacqueline Kennedy wearing an Oleg Cassini designed dress.
It was great. She picked me. That was the greatest thing to happen in my life. Then I did a good job. That was the second greatest thing I did in my life.
This Oleg Cassini designed coat was worn by Jacqueline Kennedy when she arrived in New Delhi. She was greeted by Nehru, and the coat in a way reflects the lines of his eponymous Nehru jacket. She changed into exactly the same coat and hat, but in white, to go and lay flowers on Gandhi's shrine. White, of course, is an Indian colour of mourning, and one sees that she's established this pattern of complementary clothing. This is a dress by Gustave Tassel that Jacqueline wore for an elephant ride in Jaipur with her sister, and although it's got a fuller skirt than she normally wears, that's about the only concession to a planned elephant ride. Jacqueline Kennedy's state evening clothes were very formalised. They were rather stiff and almost two-dimensional in a way. But at one point she wrote to Oleg Cassini asking him to design her a sort of drapey dress in the Madame Grey tradition.
She appealed to all women, all different parts of her, the things that she wore, her glasses, her handbags, everything.
Dark glasses were such a trademark of Jacqueline Kennedy's, and she sort of later said that she felt protected by them in a way because she could see what was going on, but people couldn't really see what was going on behind them.
She had style, which is a very different thing from being fashionable, and I think that being an icon means that you never go out of style.
She gave a sense of poise to the White House and a sense of stature that I don't think anyone else has been able to equal.
I hope people come away thinking that she's more than just fashion. She's greatly missed, but I think she's smiling down on her family tonight.